So to start, what is the RSR? So I know we have some people on today's call where the RSR is completely new. So just to review with you all, the Ryan White HIV/AIDS Program Services Report, more commonly referred to as the RSR, it monitors the outcomes achieved on behalf of our HIV and AIDS clients and their families receiving care and treatment. And it monitors the use of Ryan White HIV program funds for appropriate use. The RSR is required for all Ryan White HIV/AIDS program funded grantees. Part A, which is through the city. Part B, which is through the state. Part C, which is your Part C and D, which are your directly funded program grantees. So this is something that many agencies are required to take care of that use AIRS throughout the state of New York. Included in the RSR, there are three pieces. The grantee report. So that is the information regarding the recipient of the funds. Here in New York, that's Part B, New York City, Part A. And then as I had previously mentioned, there are providers out there that receive Part C and D funding, which receive their funding directly. The provider report, this includes information on each provider receiving a subcontract from the major grantees, such as New York State AIDS Institute, also New York City Department of Health. And then the other piece is the client level data, the CLD. So this is information from each provider on all of the clients that are served within the programs. All right, so then to review, each funded provider completes a provider report. Within the provider report, there are the following pieces of information included. Organization, contact information, the various service delivery sites, program information, funding source information, where you certify, service information, and then also new is clients by zip code. So we'll be taking a look at the different pieces of the provider report a little bit later. The provider report is directly entered into the HRSA website, and you do need to have a login and password for that. And I'll show you the phone number that you can call a little bit later in the event that maybe you don't have a login and password, or maybe you forgot your password. So all that information we'll look at later. Client level data. In AIRS, this is generated from all of the information that you enter as a part of the agency intake, all the different screens and historical information, services entered into the AIRS database, demographics, service data, clinical status measures. Those of you in the outpatient ambulatory care environment with medical clients, they do have the greatest level of detail and follow-up, and we'll be looking at some of those questions later. In the client level data, it does include a record for each and every client that is served. It is generated based on the RSR extracts that you send up to the AIDS Institute. They then send you the XML that you then are responsible for uploading into HRSA's website. So we'll be looking at that later as well. The client level data piece, just so you can kind of get an idea of the level of detail that's included in the RSR. Client demographics. So here you can see a lot of this information is completed as a part of the agency intake, such as the client's year of birth, race, ethnicity, client's current gender, biological sex at birth, financial information, the client's housing status, HIV status, HIV/AIDS risk factors. That's one piece. Then we move down to what services are delivered to the client. So core medical service visits, core medical and supportive services that are delivered. So this is a sample, by the way, of the RSR client detail report. So this is where you can see this information. We'll talk about that also later, but you can see the visits, what services were provided to the client. Of course, this is all based on how you're funded through Ryan White, the different categories you'll see there. Clinical information, again, for those of you in the outpatient ambulatory care environment, the questions related to medical care provided. This is what was for 2018, I should mention. For 2019, there are going to be some changes to these questions. The good news is some of them will be not included in 2019. So they have had some changes, but you can see CD4 viral loads. Has the client been screened for syphilis? These clinical questions. Additionally, there are some questions also for HIV positive women. So then we also have a summary of the RSR process. So we'll be referring back to this screen throughout today's presentation. First off, the first step, and this is what you've been doing already, entering your data into AIRS, taking a look at the various reports to make sure that the data is complete and up to date. RSR extract created and sent to the AIDS Institute. For those of you who may have been involved in the interim RSR, you have already gone through this process where you have sent in the RSR extract to the Institute. They have provided you with some feedback reports showing how your data looked. This was back in October. If you were involved in that, you've probably been updating your data. Soon we'll be looking for you to start to submit your RSR extract. And then we're in this state, data cleanup loop. So here you can send in the extract files, get the feedback reports. This will continue until, both the AIDS Institute and the agency feels that, the data looks that it's going to be as complete as it's going to be. Then the AIDS Institute, they're going to provide you with that XML file that we mentioned before. You're going to then take that file and then upload it into the HRSA website. Once that's there, you'll then coordinate with any other parts of Ryan White that you might be working with, such as the city, if you're a Part C provider, what have you. But the first part, of course, is making sure that your data is complete. So a few setup things that you need to do to get started, if you haven't done so already, both in AIRS and also in the HRSA website. The first thing is the RSR funded service category screen. So you do need to have the RSR funded service category screen completed. This is found in the agency module of AIRS under the RSR. So you can see here, you have your different service categories that are checked off as being funded. Now, for those of you that have planning files, all of this checkboxes will automatically be checked off once you click on Add. There are some updates, some agencies that are receiving MAI funding, also state funding. Those checkboxes will need to be done manually at this time, although in the next AIRS version upgrade 9.0, then those would automatically be completed. But for this go around, most likely you're going to need to manually go in and check those other types of programs. So that would be done here in the RSR funded service category screen. It should be noted also that until this screen is completed, you will not be able to enter or you will not be able to run the RSR client list or the RSR client detail report. If this isn't completed and you go to run those reports, you will get a message saying you need to go in, complete your RSR funded service categories, and then the reports will run without issues. So this is really the first step, making sure that the RSR funded service category screen is completed, and then from there you'll be good to go with the reports, what have you. So this is one of the setup pieces. You'll notice that there is that little message there in red, must match services selected on the HRSA website. So whatever is on the HRSA website should also be checked off here. So for those of you that have funding through the city, for example, Ryan White Part A, you'll see those funded service categories on the HRSA website. You want to make sure that they're also checked off here in AIRS as well. Okay, so once that's done, then as I mentioned, it's important that you go in and also update your provider reports. So this is all found on that document that we have posted, both on AIRS and Y, and the one that's available for you to download. So you don't have to worry about copying down the website, but that's there for you. This is kind of a sample of what the login looks like when you're on the HRSA website. So you would enter your login, your password. If you do have issues with your login, you can see that phone number listed there at the bottom. You will need your registration code, so you might need to take a look at some of your contract information if you're not sure what your registration code is. And then they'll work with you so you have your login and everything would be squared away. Once you are logged in, you'll be looking at a screen that looks pretty much like this. You'll see right down there on the line, you have that little action of create. And this is the first step. So you want to go in, click on the create button. Once create has been selected, you would then go through the various sections of the provider report. So we navigate through it on the left-hand side of the screen, starting with general information. You can see this is where we'd have organizational details, the contacts for your agency, provider profile information, service delivery sites. A lot of this information, too, if you have submitted the RSR previously, is going to be pre-populated. So it might just require just a few updates. Looking here under program information, they are removing that question related to the number of staff in full-time equivalents. That's being removed for 2019. The important part is down towards the bottom. Here you have your funding source certification. So this item lists all of your agency's funded sources of Ryan White HIV/AIDS program funding. Please verify that this list is accurate. So there's that little plus sign there you'll see that you can expand to, review some additional details. If everything looks good, which it should, you can then check off that box. I have reviewed my agency's list of Ryan White HIV/AIDS program funding sources and can certify that the list is accurate. Once that's done, you check that little box off, and then you would want to come down to the bottom and click on Save. So a lot of people miss that step, so it's very important that you click on the Save button right there following. Moving on to service information. So this is that screen that needs to match your funded service category screen in ARS. So you can, similar in a way, you can see that you have this sample shows support services. You have those little check boxes for funded, and you want to also make sure that you're checking off delivered for the services that were delivered by your agency. So this is another important step. Once those are all checked off, you would then again make sure you click on Save. And at that point, this is taking care of the provider report piece. Counseling and testing information, you'll see that listed on the left. That's also being removed for 2019. And then it's going to be time to import the client level data piece. So that's most likely going to happen later. So once the provider report piece is done, that's been taken care of, you've saved your information, we can then focus on the client level data piece until the final CLD is submitted. Also, you'll see this additional screen, clients by zip code. This is something that's going to be new for 2019. The AIDS Institute will be providing you with a file for upload. So you don't have to worry about going through and manually completing this screen. You will receive a file of your clients by zip code that you would upload to this piece here. All right, so we have now done our setup. We've completed our funded service categories. We've completed the provider report piece. Now we focus on the client level data. And the first tool that you have in ARS when it comes to your client level data is really making sure that all of your clients are being included in the RSR. So here you can see a copy of the RSR client list. Going across, you can see the client name, their TCID number, the client ID, gender, HIV status, whether or not they are a medical client. You'll see that little Y or N. And then you'll also see the reason not included. So the report is broken down. At the bottom, you'll see we have our eligible clients. So these are the clients that are being included in the RSR. And then you also can see those clients that are not being included in the RSR, service received, but do not meet the eligibility criteria. So what is the eligibility criteria? This is found on the report, reasons why the client is ineligible. So financial information, or it could also be HIV status. So with financial information, you want to make sure that every client has a 2019 record entered into financial information found within historical information. And also the income, it needs to be within the less than or equal to 500% of the federal poverty level. So every year we get at least one support ticket into NetSmart where someone will say, I know my client has financial information entered. They keep appearing on this report. I'm not understanding why it is. You know, we take a look at it with them, and you know, in some cases, we'll take a look and be like, well, the reason that they're not being included is because the client is listed as being over the federal poverty level threshold. So usually it's a data entry error. Maybe somebody put too many zeros at the end of the client's income, but that does happen. So you want to make sure that you are within the federal poverty level threshold there, or also the financial information might just be missing. With HIV status, The RSR, this is for HIV positive clients. So if the client has a negative status, unknown or missing status, that's also going to result in the client not being included in the RSR. And you'll see it also gives you the number of clients, and it also shows you the programs that are going to be, the following programs contain clients and services reported in the RSR. So that's listed down there at the bottom. So the RSR client list, this is your first tool. You want to make sure that all of your clients are going to be listed. So all the clients that you would be expecting to see are showing there at the bottom where it says eligible clients being included in the RSR. Once we're comfortable with that, then it's time to really look at the detail. A few tools are available for making sure that the client's data is as complete as possible that's being reported. We've got all of the various questions covered. One very good tool is the RSR Client Detail Report. This, you can see, as we saw before, it goes through all the various questions of the RSR, client demographic information. Really, when you're looking at this report, you want to be honing in where it says unknown or information not found. These are the things that need to be updated. So if the client's missing housing information, if they're missing insurance information, those are the kinds of things that you'd want to be using this report to see if you can get more information for those in the outpatient ambulatory care environment. Outside of demographics, looking to make sure that those questions are also completed. And we have other tools as well. RSR Missing Data Report by Client. This is a very popular report that agencies use. So you can see all the clients with their TCID number listed. It shows you the question number, and then it identifies those questions where information is either missing or unknown. This report is also available as a spreadsheet that you can use in Excel to, sort, remove columns, whatever makes things go more manageable. Another tool for data completeness, the verification tickler, the update tickler. Now this is centered around AIDS Institute monitoring standards, but a lot of the things that are looked at for RSR are also found here on the tickler. So financial information, housing information, insurance, some of the lab tests. This, is a good snapshot that you have available to you, so you can use the verification tickler to ensure that information is up to date. With the tickler, you also have the ability in ARES to mark records as verified. So should information from one period to the next not change, for a 2-year window, you are able to mark those records as being verified rather than entering a new record. So say you have a client, you're updating their housing information, you say to the client, all right, we're looking to update your information for 2019. Last time we checked in 2018, you were in a rental. Has anything changed with your housing? The client says, no, everything is exactly the same. It's still in the same place. Everything is good. You could enter just an additional housing record, or you can click on the Verify button. You can see it says there in red, Add New or Verify By. So if we then click on the button, you'll see that it would then bring you into the verification screen. There are a limit to the number of times an item or a record can be verified. So like you can see here, the update frequency for housing, both for HRSA and AIDS Institute, it's once a year, 12 months. Number of times the information can be verified is 2. then it does show you the last date allowed to enter a verification is 2 years out, so 2 years from the date of entry. So you can see that's listed there. Once the verification information is entered, you do get a warning, and this is important. Once you verify a record, you're really certifying that the information is true. And you get this message, and it says, the information that is being verified will be locked once you press save. Editing or removing verified information is not allowed. Are you sure the data is correct and can be verified? So once I click yes here, that record is going to be tied to the client. You're not going to be able to change it. So you always want to make sure that you're being careful if you are using verification. For RSR, you also want to make sure that you are entering a date that falls within the reporting period. So for right now, we're looking at 2019 RSR. When we fall into 2020, you want to make sure that you're verifying with a date that's still 2019. Otherwise, anything that's marked 2020 is not going to be included in the RSR. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. And that goes for new records too. So you want to make sure that your dates are reflective of the reporting period. With verification, it is an optional workflow. You don't have to use verification. New data is always welcome. You know, with new records, you can edit them, you can remove them. There are many agencies that have said, you know what, we're going to just enter new records and not bother with verification. It's just a lot easier, and we don't have to worry about someone making a mistake. So it's available for you. You just want to use caution. And new data is always welcome, so you can always enter new data. All right, this is the RSR client assessment. This would be for those agencies that, again, are in the outpatient ambulatory care environment. So as I mentioned before, some of the questions that are found on this assessment have been removed for 2019. But you can use it to review to see the number of services that were provided. And then for the questions that remain, you can go through and if it says information not found, you can use this in the event that the item has not medically indicated is a better answer, or no is a better answer in some cases. So it's another tool that you have, again, for those agencies in the outpatient ambulatory care environment. So that's the RSR client assessment. So let's now say we have gone through, our RSR client list looks good, all the questions appear to be answered, we've looked at the detailed reports, we feel that our data is looking in pretty good shape, everything looks complete. Now is when we would then begin the process of submitting the RSR extract up to the AIDS Institute. So for those of you who are familiar with the AIDS, the regular AIDS Institute extract, which is the top option in the extract menu. This is the one at the bottom. So it says RSR Ryan White Services Report Extract. You would go through the same process as the AIDS Institute extract, click on New. You'll create the extract zip file. Click on Save to Disk, find the file, upload to the Institute via the HCS, the Health Commerce System. And then once the AIDS Institute receives it, they're then going to be providing you with some feedback reports. And this is all being done through, the feedback reports are going to be coming to you through the AIDS Institute's Zendesk platform. So I think everybody here on the call should be familiar with Zendesk. So that's what the Institute has been using to communicate back and forth with you directly related to the RSR. A couple feedback reports just to make note of. So this is the a sample of the 2019 Ryan White RSR client level completeness report by provider. So it shows the total number of clients, clients that are not being included based on the RSR client list. You can see the Ryan White funded service categories and errors that are going to be included. And then the other report, and this one is relatively new, HIV positive clients not currently reported. So this hones in on AIDS Institute clients with healthcare services. You can see that it shows the program, the TCID of the clients, last date services were provided, last time the financial history record was entered, what the household size, total annual household income is, where the client falls in the percentage of the federal poverty level. It shows the number of clients in the program, total healthcare clients, and then moving down towards the bottom, AIDS Institute clients with non-healthcare services. And it shows the RSR service category, total clients in program. So this is a sample of another feedback report that you would receive from the Institute. So as you get feedback, you might say, well, I think there's still some work that we can do. You could make some updates to client level data, submit another extract to the Institute. Once everybody's happy, everything looks good, the AIDS Institute has given their blessing, then they will send you your XML file, and then that's going to be the file that you then upload to the HRSA website. So to review, you would then log back into the HRSA website, and now we're at the last step listed under Provider Report on the left-hand side, Import Client Level Data. So you can see that little box, Client Upload. So you would search to find your file, select it on your computer, and then click on the link where it says Upload File. So once that's done, you would then navigate down to the next sections, which are the Provider Report actions. So the first step would be to go through and validate. So, and you can see there's a little message at the top. You will likely have errors if you've not uploaded all of your client level data. So again, this is why you have to go into this after the client level data piece is done. If you have errors, you would want to, again, review the errors, make any corrections that are needed. This is also where you could go in, and if you have any warnings, you can add comments. So this is where the comments would be all entered. Once that is done, you would then move on and submit your RSR. So this is the end of the road. So you would click on Submit. Once that process is complete, you would want to inform all of your grantees so they can accept the submission, and then your RSR is complete.